in my desire to be transparent, to show you how I kind of put things together, how I get from point A to point B in these vlogs, this podcast, I'm going to work on something while I film myself work on it. I don't know the conclusion of what I'm going to say. By the time I get to the end, you would have gotten there with me. I woke up this morning, it's 5:22 a.m. here in New Mexico. And I've been processing some things that I went through yesterday. And everything I went through seemingly was a thing in itself. But what I now know to pay attention to is that when we have a life lesson that we need to learn, it tends to show up in different ways, but it's the same lesson. Actions are misinterpreted on one level, and then someone pays you a compliment, but you don't know how to take it, so you turn it around. In talking about mindset, that's a word now that will have very little meaning to people, because once it becomes a hashtag, everybody jumps on it and turns it into something that's personal to them, of course. But what does it really mean? What is a mindset? Simply put, it's the lens through how you see the world. It's the way you interpret the slightest thing. And your mindset is determined by your trauma. It's determined by what you actually know about life, or what you believe to be true about life. So someone could come along and they could offer you everything. They can offer you love. They can offer you resources. They can offer you the father figure you've never had. But because of your own mindset, you might not be able to accept that. You might interpret their actions as something that's you're going to have to repay one day in some way, some form, some fashion. I was helping someone move into a place, or I should say I was helping someone get an apartment. I was too kind. I was really penalized at the end of the day for being too kind. And when you run up against kindness, when all you've ever seen from other people is the opposite of that, then you look for these earthly reasons as to why someone is kind. Oh, they must like me, or they must want something from me, or, it depends on the lens of your mind, how you'll interpret their actions. If we're not careful, the lens of our mind will interpret their response to us in a very negative way. See, that's what I get for being kind, or that's what I get for caring about people. If you're not careful, your heart will go darker just because you are resisted at the point that you try to love unconditionally. And I remember Maya Angelou once said that you can't celebrate any of the virtues of life without courage. You can't be consistently kind. You can't be consistently loving. You can't be consistently caring without courage, because the courage to keep doing it when others totally reject you or misunderstand you is the challenge. Your mindset is determining your quality of life. I promise you this. It's determining how happy you are on any given day. And so we have all of these phrases that we use now. I'm bipolar, I've got ADD. All of that is just another cloak and dagger interpretation of what's happening in the mind. Because the mind is there to do a couple of things. Obviously, it keeps you alive. It's your survival. It's also there to protect you. See, your mind is doing what it's supposed to do to keep you safe. even if it keeps love away from you, even if it keeps resources away from you, it really is just trying to keep you safe. You have to take control of your mind and say, oh, wait. That's not evil. That's actually good. You have to retrain it. You have to reteach it. I'm not an animal person, but I've seen people who have gotten dogs or cats from shelters, and those animals come into their home, and you can love them with all your heart and soul, but if all of those animals were only used to abuse, they don't know what that is yet. And every action you do toward them reminds them of a negative action. And it takes a long time, if ever, to really break through to that pet that's been abused. We're no different. We really aren't. We're so conditioned by how we were loved and how we were accepted and how we were trained as a child that when we become adults, we don't trust anyone who, even in the slightest moment, reminds us of where we've come from. Until we stand against that memory and say, you know what? You protected me long enough. And actually, your protection is not protection anymore. It's keeping me away from living life fully. So I want to think about this for a moment. The lens that we interpret every action that comes toward us. If we can't trust human beings, if we don't really want human beings to touch us, if we have already decided that every touch is evil, how can God reach us if we believe in God? How can the universe reward us? How can karma come back to us with something better? Because our lens that we are interpreting life has already tainted everything that it sees. It has said good is evil. You see? So then when someone is evil, you would think we would interpret that as good, but we don't. Everything is bad. Everything is bad. So all I want you to do right now is to think about that as you go out in this day, in this week, for the rest of this month. Make sure that you're interpreting things as they truly are and as they're truly coming to you. Make sure that you are letting love find you in the ways that it shows up. Make sure you're not missing great jobs. You're not keeping great apartments from yourself. That you're not keeping every good thing that life is trying to bring to you away from you because of your own lens that you're seeing things through. The world is not as evil as you probably have told yourself it is. It's the lens that you see it through. I would venture to say that we are the author and finisher, as I said in the last vlog, of our faith, of our actions. We're responsible. The beginning of wisdom is to look in the mirror and say, I did this to myself. I might not have been the originator of the thought, but I'm the perpetuator of the thought. I'm keeping that prejudice alive. I'm keeping that fear alive. I'm keeping that lack of sensitivity alive. I am playing out a pattern that I have been holding on to for too long. And it's time to think a new thought. It's time to be better. It's time to give life a chance to prove me wrong and show me that it's really better than I believe it ever could be or ever thought it would be. I deserve it. I really do. And I want to be happy. Let's examine the lens and make sure that it's not cloudy on the inside. That's it. Good morning.